Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, a customer wanted her ice cream crunchy, so I made it crunchy. Of course, Dad, I will not call you by your name as you request. Small compliance, tell me if someone entered the meeting room. Will do. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. A customer wanted her ice cream crunchy, so I made it crunchy. Briefly, during the pandemic, I worked as a manager at a Ralph's, a NYC area ice cream chain, and one night as I'm helping out scooping, I hear a customer getting annoyed at the window and starting to get snippy with one of the young kids who was working the window, so I head over to smooth the situation as manager. The woman is mad because the hot fudge on her hot fudge sundae is hot and going to melt the ice cream. I explained to her that hot fudge is indeed served hot, but she insists, so I make her a new sundae with magic shell topping instead and let her keep the hot fudge one. By the time I return with that, this customer is stirring her spoon through another cup of cream ice, kind of like a sherbet, she ordered, obviously about to complain about it. The flavor she ordered was called Graham Crunch, and she proceeded to tell me that there wasn't any Graham Crunch in it. That she orders this flavor all the time and she knows that I am intentionally stiffing her. I tell her that this is just how the flavor is and I don't name or make the ice cream, but she isn't having it. She wants me to fix it. We've got some crushed graham cracker topping in the back, so as she is berating me, I just walk away from her and grab the entire container and come back to the window with it. At this point, we've got a line of people down the block because this lady has held us up, so there are lots of witnesses to what I was about to do. Without breaking eye contact with her as she continues to tell me that I'm wrong about the ice cream I scoop 6 days a week, I open the lid of the container and empty the entire thing over her cup of the offending ice cream. Graham crackers are everywhere. Her ice cream is now definitely crunchy. She loses her mind at this and starts yelling at me she knows the owner and will get me fired. I tell her, yeah, Steve is a nice guy, and she responds with, I've known Steve a long time, to which I respond, well, his name is John. Get out of here and don't bother my employees for free ice cream again. Now, sufficiently embarrassed in front of the long line of customers, the lady leaves in a huff and indeed never returns. The next few customers left us $20 tips in the jar to make up for her, so the kids who worked for me left with quite a bit more in their pockets than they normally would and realized that their manager had their back. The Steve John switch up is genius. I'm going to use that if I ever get in a situation similar to this one. I'm impressed with your quick wit to think of that on the spot like that. Very impressive. I should have used that at my last job. The name of the restaurant was my boss name, so it would have been even better to pull a bait and switch on them. As the employee, I would definitely be happy to have such a nice manager. I'd be proud to work for OP. You really scooped her with changing the name of the owner. That was the best topping of all. Customer is always right has to be the most toxic ideas ever created. The phrase originally meant, whatever the market wants is what you should sell, but Karens and Kens have misappropriated and bastardized it into you have to do whatever I tell you because I know better than you. The truth is, the customer doesn't know shit and is most likely wrong, which is why they're dealing with you and not doing your job themselves. Of course, Dad, I will not call you by your name as you request. I have always been the type of person to follow malicious compliance and to be a little petty even from a young age. If this is reposted on any other platform, please leave a link in the comments. I feel this story is a bit of malicious compliance with a sprinkling of petty revenge. So in the mid-90s I joined my dad's company helping in the office. When I first joined the team there were about 12 main people in the business. So everyone knew I was my dad's son. My dad has always run businesses in a relaxed environment, wanting workers to call him by his first name. So because he was my dad I called him Dad, duh. So after a few weeks my dad pulled me into a meeting asking me not to call him Dad while at work. so I obliged, wanting to placate him. So I started calling him Steve, not his real name, but I like Steve and Steve is a cool name. After a few days he again pulled me into a meeting. This time he asked me not to call him Steve because it sounded weird for me as his to call him by his first name. So I asked him if I should call him Mr. Summers, not his surname/last name. He said no, that it was too formal for him. So I asked him, well, what I should call you? He told me to figure it out but not to call him those. So here comes my very petty side for the next plus or minus 20 years while I worked for the business till I left. Inside and outside of work, i.e. when I saw him at home or out at dinner, I called him boss. He kept on asking me then to call him dad, which I refused. The day I left the business I immediately reverted back to calling him dad. It took him about 6 years after that for him to ask why I stopped calling him boss and started calling him dad. When I gave him my answer he was shocked. He never put two and two together. Which shocked me more than him because I was sure he figured it out. My dad is very technically inclined but sometimes misses things that are right in front of him. I have a few other stories which I might post sometime. Asking you not to call him dad at work was a reasonable request. Asking you not to call him his name at work was ridiculous. When I was 16 I worked for my mother. In the office she was Irene and outside she was Mom. You only did what you were asked. It makes sense that people get called by their preferred name. It also makes sense that you only get one preferred name. What makes sense at home doesn't always fit at work and vice versa. I've seen this before. My wife likes to always be called by her name. I use her name everywhere. Sign a card to the kids on a birthday? I use her name. She asks me why not use Mom? Well, you prefer I always use your name. That's what always means. My in-laws always sign cards by both their given name and what my wife would call them, so lots of love, Mike/Dad. It's a bit confusing as to whether they want me to call them by their first name. No one has ever requested a specific name for me to call them and I'm too shy to ask. I just say, hi, good to see you again, lol. Small compliance, tell me if someone entered the meeting room. Will do. I was on the other end of a small malicious compliance lately, and I thought I'd share. For background, I'm one of two managers for the engineering division in a small consulting company owned by a much bigger state-owned company. The companies are currently in the process of transferring some of the parent company's business lines toward my company, and I am the lead in my company to execute those businesses on the working level, read, not a C-level or a vice president/VP. It just happened that last week had a lot of meetings scheduled for our team. On the particular day, I had a personal meeting scheduled with the parent company, for a different reason than what's stated above, and, within 30 minutes of that meeting, another big business meeting which includes 4 VPs from different divisions and directorates, my company's C-level, and my team. All were online meeting. I prepped the talking points already, but my C-level haven't confirmed whether he's gonna join or not. The protocol is usually that I lead the talks when it comes to my company's POV. But as I've mentioned before, I'm in another meeting right now, and it's running a bit late. As a result, I joined the meeting room from my phone. Phew. It was only me and one of my engineers, and a junior from my uni, so we are quite close, Alex. I told Alex that, I think this meeting's gonna end soon. Until I do, please tell me if anyone enters the meeting room. I might have to greet the parent company VPs until our C-level enters the room. Half a minute later, that ding-dong from Zoom chimes. Alex told me, yeah, Jane from our team joined. I looked at him incredulously, and he just shot me with a mischievous grin. He knew what he was doing. Ding-dong, oh, Dave from our team joined. Ding-dong, oh, Melissa from our team joined. Alright, I get it. What I meant was, if someone from the parent company joined. Okay, will do. And then 5 minutes later my current meeting ended, I transferred the meeting to my laptop, and then ding dong. Young Alex headed to my desk, saw my computer, and then said, "That's Emma from parent company." "Yes, Alex. I can see it." "Now you don't need to report any entrance to this meeting," I said with an annoyed smile, because we knew what he was doing. "If that's what you want." Still with the widest grin on his face, like he's proud with himself. The meeting went well, I lead my team well, and we discussed a lot of jargony business jargons. But that malicious compliance from my junior did lighten the mood in my office. I think this is the first wholesome version of malicious compliance I've ever seen on here. Made me smile. Thanks for that. There have been others, mostly kids teasing parents. Similar to what happened here, actually. The prankster did his job well. Took the pressure off and the meeting was accomplished without any tension. Well done. Reminds me of when I was young and joined an IT company. Was reporting to the head of the networking department, and when the internal phone hotline rang he made me go to the phone, translated from German. My response was done. Still ringing. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.